friends, today we have to talk about something that's a little bit hard, and it's something that's been particularly hard for me recently, and that's discussing the topic of grief and loss with my children. Loss is definitely never easy, but when you have to navigate it with children and their big emotions and their fragile hearts, it adds this whole other layer of complexity and difficulty that maybe wouldn't otherwise be there if you were just working through it yourself. And this really makes it all the more important for us to understand how we can help our kiddos when they are going through something that causes them to feel such big emotions, because loss is definitely something that can cause that. I'm really sad to share that in June we lost my husband's father after a really unexpected and very short battle with cancer, and unfortunately loss is not something that is new to our family. Over the last 5 years we have really experienced unprecedented amount of loss. The loss of my husband's father though was particularly hard because our children were so close with him. I mean, they really cherished him. So I hate to say that I'm well versed on this subject, but because we've been through it so much, I feel like I have some insight that I'd like to share with you. Talk openly and honestly about the loss. If your kids are an appropriate age, be honest with them. Answer their questions. We found it to be really therapeutic to talk about what happened. Sometimes kids ask really tough questions, especially when it comes to loss, and we try not to sugarcoat a whole lot. I mean, obviously they're still children, so we share as much with them as is appropriate, but I don't want talking about it to feel taboo. Loss and grief are not taboo subjects, so we try to make it feel as normal as possible to talk about it and answer any questions that they have. I try really hard when they have questions not to reply with "I don't know." I try to search within myself and provide the best answer that I know how, and I really encourage you to do the same. Through loss, I've learned to just be a better listener. Sometimes my kids don't need me to inundate them with life advice. Sometimes they just need to talk. Sometimes they just need to cry without me responding with a bunch of words that may just feel overwhelming in the moment. Sometimes they just need someone to listen. We also try really hard to prioritize preserving the memory of the person that we lost and loved so much by sharing memories and stories, and just really honoring their memory by visiting the memorial if we can and when we're able to, talking about that person, looking at pictures, watching videos, whatever we can do to preserve that memory and share in the happy times. We really try to prioritize. There really is so much healing to be found in sharing happy memories. With my oldest daughter, I have found a coping skills workbook to be particularly helpful, and this workbook has provided her with a ton of ideas on what to do when she's feeling overwhelmed with big emotions. A few of the things that she's learned from her workbook are things like distraction techniques like coloring or doing something nice for someone else, mindful breathing or exercise, reading a book, or doing something that just makes her feel happy in that moment, like doing something silly and dancing to really good music. Try to remember that there's not really a right or wrong way to grieve. It's going to be different for everyone, for every child. For example, my daughter loves, when we are out on walks and she sees a butterfly, she loves to say, "Hi grandpa, I love you, I miss you." She equates that butterfly with her grandpa, and who am I to tell her to do it any different? You know, that's how she's processing, and that's totally fine. We all do it in our own way. Also remember that you set the example, so don't be afraid to let your children see you grieve too. It's okay for them to see you cry. It's okay for them to see you have a hard time, and it's okay for you to tell them that you're having a hard time, because loss is hard. But if you normalize the process of grieving, they're gonna know and have those tools to cope and deal as they experience more loss throughout their lives. And lastly, don't forget to give it time. The wounds of loss never really fully heal and never fully close, but if you go through it together and you lean on one another for support, there is some comfort and healing to be found in that.